New York, big city of dreams.
I'm coming straight out.
New York, big city of dreams.
NYC.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Nick of Time show where we give you that Knicks talk just in the nick of time. As you can see, two of our superstars are out. Leak out the graphics in the background. As you can see, two of our superstars are out, but we're following NBA rules. So two of our superstars are still here to celebrate this Knicks victory over the Washington Wizards, the first win for the Knicks in the in-season tournament. I got my guy Lee here with me. The Knicks win 120-99. Smack the Wizards in Washington, drop the Wizards to 2-10. The Knicks rise up to 7-5. I'm gonna go through some stats right quick. So the Knicks almost shoot 50% from the field, 45 of 91, 42% from three, 16 of 38. And the Knicks dominated the Wizards on the glass as well, 48-32. We're gonna get to player stats. So who led the way for the Knicks tonight? Your man, Brunson Burner, Jalen Brunson.
Let's go!
32 points, 7 rebounds. And then you also have Julius Randle contributing with 22 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists.
That was Texas, baby.
Yes, sir. And of course, we got Quick coming off the bench. Great homecoming for Quick, 27 points in 33 minutes. And the Knicks pretty much led from the beginning to the end. The Knicks were up by as much as 23 points. The Wizards, they fought back. It was hard to put them away. But then I think the turning point in the game was when the Knicks were up by 10 and at around the 5-minute mark in the fourth quarter. And Jalen Brunson hit that big three to put the Knicks up by 13. And from then, it was just smooth sailing. From there, the Knicks got their first win in the in-season tournament. Now, Lee, what are your thoughts about the game tonight?
Man, I got hella stoned in the first half, and I was so stoned to pay attention to what was happening, bro. I had to wait for the come down. Luckily, halftime saved my life and my sanity, so I came back to watch second half, and just in time to watch Brunson and Randle cook. And man, it made me think, like, for as bad, it's surprising how bad the Nets are in covering the PNR pick and roll, considering how great they run it on offense. Like, I mean, multiple switches, like whether it's Brunson and Randle, now even Randle and Mitch, RJ and Mitch, RJ and Brunson, right? They're really good. Actually the best. Brunson and Randle are one of the best pick and roll duos in the NBA. And it's odd with all that efficiency and success they see from running that play, they have a very hard time defending it. There were multiple instances where just open lanes were created by Kispert and Kuzma, who just straight to the rack. Off those pick and rolls. And a lot of it was Julius Randle getting stuck in those picks and clamped down, so he wasn't able to roll the basket and provide some extra help. But I mean, once we got that cleaned up a little bit toward the end of the third quarter, the Knicks kind of maintained the lead throughout. There was no cardiac Knicks, and I like to think those days are over. 2 to 3 years ago, where every game felt like it was going to slip away from us. Brunson coming here cleans up a lot of those mistakes, and having Emmanuel Quickley in his fourth year gross of evolution and progress will clean that up even more. Like those two as closers are vital to us being able to hit free throws, hit clutch shots, and defend at a high level.
Yeah, man. It's funny because when you watch the Knicks throughout the years, one of the major needs for the Knicks were point guard and somebody who actually close games. And we have that in Jalen Brunson, and you have that in Quickley as well. When Quickley comes off the bench and he provides those good fourth quarter minutes. The Knicks were never, they were never in threat of losing the lead. I believe even when the Wizards cut the lead down to 5, it always felt like the Knicks were in control of this game. And every time the Wizards came back, the Knicks hit some big shots to put the lead back up, but ultimately, as it is with most teams, when you're battling all game to come back, eventually the energy is going to drop, and the team who's been leading the whole way, they're going to eventually get to a point where they put you away, and that's what the Knicks did tonight. And this was a game that the Knicks were supposed to win. Yeah. The Wizards are 2-9, been playing terrible all season. They shut down Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole only scored 8 points, 2 of 11 shooting. I think he had 5 turnovers as well. So Jordan Poole was a non-factor, and Kuzma's been playing well this season. They held Kuzma to 19 points, 8 of 21 for the field. So the Knicks did what they had to do tonight, and it's good to, and I think it's good to get that feel good win, that first win for the in-season tournament.
Yeah, man, there's been some stressful moments during the Leon, actually more under the Scott Perry era, as I would say it extends for a little bit further back from Leon Rose, where the Knicks have gone years where they're really good at being competitive and above 500 teams, and then they would lose consistently to the under 500 teams. And this season might be the first in my fandom where I feel completely confident that when an ass team comes in, we're going to smack the hell out of them and move on with a W. And the Washington Wizards are probably the most institutional poverty team in the NBA. It's close between them and the Charlotte Bobcats, bro. I say Bobcats on purpose because they're just a bum ass franchise. They don't even deserve to be recognized properly. The Wizards, though, man, it's where like overpaid guys, don't get the bad, and they have a roster full of ill-fitting, slow but long forwards that struggle putting the ball on the floor and shooting from three consistently and play no defense. They have like 5 of those guys, and they all kind of play the same way and demand the same high usage rate on ball. They're all me first chuckers. None of them really play much defense besides Gafford and now Trey Jones, who are probably both of them I would consider above average defenders. But their main high usage guys, Kuzma and Jordan Poole, have no interest in playing defense on a consistent basis. So it's a lot of like Julius Randle mentality over there on that team, except they don't have a Tibbs or Leon Rose to establish a culture, or Brunson to close. So yeah, this is a game that we should absolutely not lose to, but that hasn't always been the case in the last couple of years. So to be able to go on the road and grab another win, another back-to-back against these like real ass, Atlanta, Washington, I wouldn't say Orlando anymore, the Clippers, Toronto, those are teams, even though we have trouble with Toronto, we should go into their building and it should be, for the most part, a guaranteed single-digit win, if not double-digit, because of how great we're on defense this season. Number 2 in the NBA, one of the best half-court defensive teams in the NBA. Like, there's no reason why we can't whoop up on teams with inferior talent.
Yeah, most definitely. And it also helps when you play in places like Washington and Atlanta, even Orlando, where it's pretty much a Knicks home game with the amount of fans that show up at each one of those games. Pretty much.
You heard that too?
Yeah, let's go Knicks in Washington. It's always crazy when the Knicks go there to play.
They were going crazy for Quickley. I loved it. Man, bro, everyone on the show has been saying it. And I might have been the first one to say, like, give that man whatever he wants. I stand by it. It's so interesting. We are in the same situation Dallas was with Luka and Brunson. Now we have Brunson, Immanuel Quickley, and we cannot make the same poverty decisions that that bum-ass Dallas franchise made and let Quick get the bag elsewhere, maybe even at a value contract. Because to me, 25, 27 mil is a good number for Quickley. That's a number that he can overplay and exceed that contract in my opinion, less than 2 seasons because of his ability to be an elite defender. You don't let a two-way kid like that with a high potential and high ceiling to get better as an ISO player and better off the dribble. Man, keep him, pay him the bag, but let him be the one overpaid contract on the entire roster. Why not, man? We have a great cap space as it is.
Yeah, I agree. Quickley is definitely proving his worth this season so far. And I think it is beneficial for the Knicks to have multiple guys on the squad that can handle the ball. And when Quickley and Brunson plays together, it puts less pressure. All right, let me rephrase my words. Okay, so with Quickley and Brunson on the court together, it puts less pressure on Brunson to do all the ball handling. With Quickley on the court together, it kind of like splits the load, and Brunson doesn't have as much on his shoulders when he's trying to carry the team to the win. So
it's a fantastic point. And I remember when we got Brunson that offseason, I said to you and Jay Ellis at the time, what I love so much about the situation is Brunson didn't have to come to the Knicks and be the savior, because at that time we had solid depth with Derrick Rose and Immanuel Quickley. And I referenced that trio of point guard options. You can sustain a 1 to 2 game injury where one of those guys is out and still maintain your offense and defensive efficiency. We cannot afford to lose Quickley because it pivots McBride in a higher usage role than I think he's effective in. I love him in 10 to 12 minutes. You get rid of Quickley, he's playing 25, 27, maybe even sometimes 30, depending on injuries and shuffling their rotation. And that's not something that I feel comfortable with. Quickley should be our 25, 27 minute per game guy and basically come off the bench, but close games out too.
Yeah, I think the only issue with Quickley is I know Quickley wants to start, and even though Quickley comes off the bench, he still plays starter minutes. Like even tonight, he played 33 minutes, I believe.
Facts.
And And the fact is that, and I know a lot of people are clamoring for Quickley to start. I see some people on Twitter clamoring for Quickley to start, and they
Me.
sit Grimes and and things of that
That's
nature.
me.
But if you look at how the minute distribution is, Quickley basically plays starter minutes. So it's like, yeah, does he come off the bench? Yes, but he's essentially a starter for the Knicks. He's used like a starter.
Good point. To me, I think Grimes is the glue of the offense and doesn't provide another person who needs the ball in his hands, needs plays ran for him, and needs to be on ball. He actually runs and creates space and does off ball movement, action, and setting picks. Where when you have Emmanuel Quickley is more looking to catch the ball and then start going into some action offensively. And it's more the pace and the rotations and the equity of the roster is better when Quickley's off the bench. But I just love Quickley so much. I think the only way for him to reach his full potential, which to me is what we're seeing from RJ. That level of play on both ends of the floor, I think Quickley can be that as well. I just want to start the kid because him and Brunson are my two favorite players, man. You cannot get rid of Quickley.
Yeah, definitely not. And I do think that with the way the Knicks roster set up at the moment, especially the starting lineup, you already have 3 guys in that starting lineup that's averaging 20 plus points a game. So it's like, so if you have 3 guys on the court together that need the ball, I feel like you need to at least have 2 guys on the court that don't need the ball and who's just going to slide into the offense, do all the small things like play defense. If they're open, take a shot, whatever the case may be, and you've got that in Grimes. And of course, Mitch doesn't need the ball either. Mitch does all the dirty work, rebound, play defense, block shots. So I think the starting lineup is good as it is. But yeah, the Knicks need to do what they can to keep Quickley. Like don't let Quickley leave unless it's a major move for a player that is going to transform the team, in my opinion.
Yep, 100% agree.
Okay, so now let's start. So now let's talk about the players. First I want to start with Brunson. Of course, Brunson was a star tonight. 32 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. When the Knicks were in some jams, he hit some big shots to push the lead back up and help the Knicks get this win. So, Lee, what do you think about Brunson's game tonight?
Bruh. I said it when we got him, man. He is the single best free agent signing in the history of the New York Knicks franchise. He has taken us, he has kickstarted our rebuild, I think, to a whole nother phase where now we have someone we can build around that doesn't yet make players better, but has shown that he can play with any other kind of player. He can play with the catch and shoot guys. He can play with the very high usage isolation guys. He can play with guys who can cut to the basket. He's starting to play more of the pick and roll alley-oop game, lob game with Mitch. And I love that about him. That you don't have to say yes or no to a trade target or a free agent signing because of how it might fit with Brunson. Brunson can fit with anyone from Cat, God forbid, Embiid, Zion. I think even Luka, if him and Luka reunite in New York. So it's just unbelievable to have a closing point guard. He's showing that game too against Atlanta, which I wasn't able to join y'all, but still was able to catch the highlights and watch Brunson's unbelievable play. To me, solidified the Brunson versus Trae Young debate. And I love having that because Trae Young's a villain in New York. I mean, throw some stats at you about how efficient Brunson was yesterday with Atlanta. 25, 8 assists, 8 of 19, 6 of 10 from 3. Trae Young, 15 points, 17 assists, 0 for 4 from 3, 4 12 overall. And that's been my argument with people who hype up Trae over Brunson. And I think Trae's stats are very gaudy, but I would argue he hasn't been a great fit with DeJounte Murray, and he hasn't really made anyone besides Clint Capella on that team better than they were without him. Brunson, I think, has raised the game and the efficiency of just about everyone that he's played alongside. Most importantly, RJ Barrett and Julius Randle. So he doesn't now. If RJ's out, I thought we're kind of getting back to the flow where Brunson had picked up the slack and be that closer that we're used to. Man, with all 3 of our guys playing the way they are, bring anyone on the playoffs. I'm not scared of a single Eastern Conference team. I think we smack anyone that we go up against. Some teams are 5 games, some teams are 7, but I have no fear of anyone in the East.
Yeah, man. With the Brunson and Trae Young comparison, it's funny because to me, Trae Young is more of a facilitator. Like, yeah, Trae Young can score the ball, but he is also the guy that he will find his teammates and get them easy basket and things of that nature. And to me, Brunson is more of a scorer. He's more of a closer. If you need a basket from Brunson, he's going to get you that basket. And then on top of that, Brunson is showing, at least as of late, he's also showing that he also can get his teammates involved as well and give them easy shots also. So at least with this season, and I even think in past seasons as well, I do think Brunson is the better point guard overall with Trae Young. I just think with a lot of people, they see an assist and they automatically think like, oh my gosh, this guy gets so many assists in the game. He's a true point guard and blah, blah, blah. And he must be one of the better point guards in the game. But when you really compare Brunson and Trae Young's game, I don't think Trae Young has a bigger impact on the game that Brunson has, even though Brunson doesn't pile up the assists like Trae Young has.
My man, perfectly said. Trae Young, without a doubt, is a better playmaker and a better facilitator. I think he is also more of a gifted player than Brunson. I think Brunson's more skilled. I think he's worked on his game. And the one argument that you cannot make is that Brunson has been a better evolved player throughout his career. The same way Trae came in, he kind of still is now. His three-point percentage have been up and down. I think he averages like 30. Him and RJ average almost the same percentage for their career from three, which is wild to think about because RJ's widely considered one of the worst three-point shooters in the league for a high usage player. And Trae has this weird perception that he's one of the best. Like the Nets come in of Steph Curry when actually he's been very inconsistent from the three-point line. He just has a lot of range. He didn't go very far back in his three-point shooting. But I agree, the impact that Brunson has, look at how Brunson has grown from his rookie years, a second-round pick in Dallas, backing up Dennis Smith Jr., to now where he is in New York as arguably a top 5 point guard in the NBA and the most efficient player at the point guard position in the NBA. Give me Brunson all day.
Yeah, most definitely. I do want to point out one thing about Brunson though, which is I wouldn't say it's concerning per se, but it is kind of weird because if you look at Brunson's stats last season, if you look at Brunson throughout his career, he's been a very efficient shooter, especially from the 2-point range and from 3-point range as well. And he would take more 2-pointers, like more mid-range shots, get to the basket, finish at the rim in the past. But this year, there's been a reverse of fortune, matter of fact. Now, this year, he's a sharpshooter from three, which he's always been, but now he's taking more threes and making them. And now inside the arc, he's not making as many shots as he used to make, especially in previous seasons. And I'm not sure if he's still trying to find his groove when he's within the arc. But I just find it weird that all of a sudden now his three intake has increased and he's getting in more threes. But now when he's inside the arc, he's not scoring as often.
All speculation and assumptions based on the eye test, but I would say it might be him a little exhausted after playing an entire season last year with the Knicks, his first as a permanent starter, and at a very high, one of the highest usage rates in the NBA, one of the highest minutes per game in the NBA, having a closeout, and especially in the playoffs when Randle was apparently playing on an injured foot and everyone else's three-point shot was nowhere to be found, Quickley was especially in the gutter. Brunson had to really put the team on his back and carry every single game with a win or a loss. Then he went to FIBA and did the exact same thing, playing a lot of minutes in FIBA as well. The starter, not always a closer, but always a starter. And now he's in his second season with a very high usage rate, and they really needed him those first couple of games of his season too. He's playing a lot of minutes, so it might be an adjustment to a much more increased role and being exhausted after a season, a postseason, and a FIBA tournament. All that combined, I think he's just maybe finding his groove conditioning wise, and hopefully he'll be back to normal in January, February, or sooner, at least before we play the Mavs, because I want him to play and light them up. I need revenge for that game I went to last season when they booed my ass off the stadium, bro. It was embarrassing. I got clowned hard, dude. It's like wilding out, but it was wilding out, but the entire arena was against me.
Lee being a menace to society in Dallas is always
major troll.
But yes, I'm hoping that Brunson will turn it around when he's inside the arc as the season goes on as well. So we talked about Quickley. We talked about Brunson. Now I want to get to the third guy in the big three for the Knicks tonight, which is Julius Randle. He had 22 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. Early in the season, he was struggling. It seemed like he was either, I don't know if he was confident in his angle, if he wasn't confident in his angle as of yet, or whatever the case may be, but it seemed like he was feeling his ankle early in the season, but as the season has gone on, he's definitely picked up his play, and now he's looking like the Julius Randle of old from last season. So what do you think about Julius Randle's performance tonight?
Got it. I mean, Melo was pretty divisive during his time here, but Randle might be the most divisive Knick of all time. And I imagine there probably was some whispers behind the scenes, even with Ewing in his prime when he struggled to really close out games in the playoffs and have back-to-back great performances in playoff series too, especially in 94. Maybe he was talked about to the same degree of skepticism and critique as Randle, but it feels like Randle's personality, his family, his private life, everything's under the microscope in the social media age. But like I said at the beginning of the season, man, I'm putting him on my back, not to the same degree I put Melo, because bruh, I went through a gauntlet defending Melo for 4 or 5 years, man. I'll never do that again. Julius Randle, though, is someone that I really love. I got a lot of respect for it when he's engaged on defense. Wasn't always the case. Today, there were a few possessions that I was like, bruh, here we go again, being a traffic cone on defense and not getting back, not hustling, not putting the same energy, even though Mitchell Robinson does every possession and is doing massive levels of cardio out there on the court, enough for some guys like DiVincenzo times two. So it's frustrating when you see your supposedly best player not to have 100% effort on defense, but his efficiency's back, man. If you can tell if someone watches the Knicks or not, if they say shit like even year Randle, odd year Randle, they just take the Knicks for clicks Twitter bait that you see the accounts with a lot of followers. They push those messages and for content purposes and engagement. And it's not indicative of why those things happen and just the randomness, arbitrariness of 1 year being good and 1 year being bad. And Randle's finally breaking that curse. It almost looked that way in the beginning, but he's back to his efficient state. And I think the Knicks playing a little bit more up tempo and quicker decision making with Baldwin's that's stuck for long periods of time. And he's sitting there to think about where guys are at and what move he's going to do. That's when Randle starts getting in trouble and starts turning the ball over. So the more read and react quickly and intuitively, the better he plays and the better the team plays.
Yeah, most definitely. He did have 6 turnovers tonight, so it wasn't one of his better games where he actually kept possession of the ball. But overall, I did think he had a good game tonight on the offensive side of the ball. I think one of the improvements with his game is, like you said, when he gets double teamed, he doesn't hold the ball anymore. He's quicker to pass the ball, which we've been saying this, the whole time since Randle's been here. Like, Randle, when you're in a double team, don't hold the ball, pass the ball quicker, and he's doing that. And I think the one thing about his game that I like as well is, in the past, when he held the ball in a double team, I felt like he was trying to look for the open guy rather than just making the quick pass. And nowadays, he's making the quick pass. Even if the guy he's passing to is not open, at least what he's allowing is that when he passes the ball out quick, he allows the ball to swing around to eventually get to the open guy. And I think that's the one thing he's been learning this season. But yeah, effort, he does lack effort on defense at times in this game, but overall, I didn't think he played well, and I'm just glad to see that he's rounding back into form, and he's turning back into the Julius Randle that we saw last season, but now with a quicker release of the ball when he's in double teams.
You made a distinction, and something else I've noticed too is the last 2 or 3 seasons when he starts to place a greater emphasis on playmaking, he tends to jump in the air and then make his decision, or he stays stationary and he drives, defense collapses, and he almost always passes to the perimeter. The longer the pass, the higher frequency you have of someone running the passing lane and stealing it. Now he's starting to make the short pass, where once he was in the post in position to score within 5 to 7 feet, rarely did he give that option to somebody else. He tended to take it, and it would end up with him bulldozing his way into the court, losing it out of bounds, getting it ripped, getting it stolen in his rip through, or when it going to the basket, getting it stuffed. Now he's starting to do that nice little pocket pass to Mitch and RJ on the post for super easy buckets. It doesn't always have to be a kick out to the 3. Teams start watching tape. They understand your tendencies. It's easy to scheme against that. If you start doing those pocket passes, you never know where those players are going to be if you're moving without the ball. And this Knicks offense, we're seeing that, and it's increasing pace, and it's increasing our assists. Keep it up.
Yeah, most definitely. And I do like the fact that he is finding Mitch more in the paint as opposed to last season.
Got to. You have to. Mitch is one of the highest percentage shot attempts in the entire NBA, and where he is under the basket. It's a better dunk percentage than Randle, who's not dunking at all this season. Even RJ, Hartenstein, Give it to Mitch if he's close to the basket. Just toss it up in the air. He's going to catch it. He's going to dunk it. If he misses, he's going to get his offensive rebound, and then he's going to dunk it. Come on, bro. Give it to Mitch.
Most definitely. And I do want to talk about a player that did find Mitch tonight on an alley-oop, Dante DiVincenzo. So, as you know, RJ and Grimes were out tonight. RJ with the migraine, and I think Grimes has a wrist injury, if I remember correctly. So the Knicks decided to go with Harden and Dante in the lineup to replace those two. I think Dante did play well tonight. And again, I know people have been clamoring for Quickley to start rather than to start Dante. So I just want to know your thoughts of Thibs going with Dante ahead of Quickley to start for Grimes in the lineup tonight.
I have no interest in like Quickley starting as a pinch hitter. That's not going to make him a better player overall. That's not going to be enough of a sample size for him to really make strides and improvements in his deficiencies. That's going to take a 15, 20 game starting sample size, not once every 15, 14 games due to injury. So I don't care who starts when it's an injury replacement. I'm more about the set rotation and the set starters moving forward. Like when Fournier was replaced with Grimes, that was a high impact decision making because now you don't have the worst defensive backcourt in the NBA with Brunson at point. I personally like the fact that Evan Fournier and Miles McBride played. The Tibbs that lost us that game in Dallas last season, which oddly enough turned the season around after that, was because of his refusal to play Fournier in that moment or Cam Reddish in that moment. He stuck with that 6 or 7 man ridiculous rotation that had no Brunson, no RJ. Those are the times to expand the roster and allow other guys to get some burn. And I like that Miles McBride played 14 minutes and Evan Fournier played 16. That shows that Tibbs is evolving a little bit. He understands, hey, these guys present a different skill set that my current rotation of the ones who are healthy don't. Miles McBride plays high-level on-ball defense that Brunson cannot replicate. Evan Fournier gives you a constant 3-ball that Josh Hart cannot replicate. Let's give those guys some opportunities and see some different sets. So, hey, all that tape that these opposing teams have been watching, steaming for you, now it's kind of thrown out the window because you're actually playing with guys that no one on the opposing coaching staff ever predicted you to play. What does that do? It gives you new opportunities for scoring and defense, too. Miles McBride's a much tougher cover for Dre Jones and Jalen Brunson is. Now you can't hunt the point guard on offense. Like, those are great things to have, and I'm glad to see Tibbs be a little bit more elastic in his thinking, which we didn't see too much last year. And man, shout out. Who knew? Here I am. Shout out Tibbs, baby. Let's go!
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. I don't care whether Dante starts or Quickley starts. It doesn't really matter to me. I do like the fact that he did use McBride and Fournier tonight, especially knowing that the Knicks are going to be playing back-to-back. Could be the Knicks are going to go back tomorrow night and play. So if Thibs was to go with the 7-man rotation tonight, the team would have been stretched out. They would have been tired going into the game tomorrow. That would definitely be no bueno right there. So the fact that he used McBride and Fournier, and the fact that even Fournier, he played decent defense tonight. I wasn't mad at Fournier when he was on the court tonight. He didn't score the rock much, but he played decent defense, and I was proud to see that out of Fournier tonight. You already know what you're going to get from McBride. McBride's going to give you that tough defense, and he definitely gave Jones and Poole some fits when he was on them as well. I think he almost stripped Poole. I don't know if he stripped Poole or Jones. I can't remember, but he did get a strip off of one of them, and then he almost stripped one of them again, and they got the ball back.
Yeah.
So McBride definitely plays tough defense tonight, and I'm just glad that Thibs saw the situation for what it is, back to back. Let me not stretch my guys out and play guys off the bench that he knows that can contribute and give him a chance.
100%, bro. 100% agree.
Facts. Okay, so regarding the game, Lee, is there anything else that you want to get off your chest?
Defense still needs to get tightened up on pick and roll. Knicks are getting better at defending the perimeter. It helps that Washington's a terrible shooting team overall and also has like very high volume shooters too. Guys that won't quit shooting and try to shoot themselves back into the game. That benefits us as well. No, man, I like the fact that Julius Randle is not letting all the critique and negativity of the beginning of the season get to his head. That's an RJ move, man. I've always commended RJ, even when he wasn't the most efficient player. Man, the dude was just, his mental game is strong. He didn't take the critique and all the like terrible jokes that were going on when he was liking certain accounts on Twitter. People were speculating on his girlfriend and all kinds of crazy stuff. Like he didn't get rattled by it. He's starting to experience that NBA, the bright lights of the NBA and NBA media, especially Knicks fans that are extremely harsh. We have a whole subset of bums on Twitter that coin themselves native Knicks Twitter, which I do all day. Just I shit on all the players they possibly can. We got like one favorite, and everyone else is a bum they want to get rid of. It's like, do y'all even remember the days of Lua Munson, bro? I'm gonna keep saying that bum ass name because the nightmares it gave me when I had to watch this lanky, long-haired, no offense having Phil Jackson loving like bum ass at the waste of roster spot and salary cap. Like, come on, man. We can't like go after some of these young players and start cultivating. No, that wasn't Phil Jackson's plan, man. He was too busy like stoned and asleep in the stands. Kind of like me. Anyways, I like Julius Randle showing some mental fortitude, which is not a phrase I've ever used to describe him before, but we're seeing that this season, and he's putting together another back-to-back solid all-NBA level campaign, and he's doing it shooting less and averaging less, which I appreciate. I would love for RJ Barrett to finish the season as our leading scorer, but I'll be just as happy if he was second leading scorer.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm not gonna call out any names, especially since we're not live right now, but yeah, there are certain people within the Knicks Twitter world that do seem like they have pitchforks out for certain players. Whenever those players play well and they deserve their props, nowhere to be found. But then once that player messes up, the pitchforks are out, and they always try to bring down a player and things of that nature, and it's just weird behavior. But I'm not going to get into those people right now on Knicks Twitter that do that. But yes, the Knicks had a big win tonight, 120-99. Knicks are now 1-1 in the in-season tournament. Let's go. Let's go, New York Knicks. And now I'm going to get to other news. Okay, so it seems like as of late, the rumor mill's been brewing, and Zach LaVine is being shopped by the Chicago Bulls. It seems like both sides mutually agree that it's time to part ways, especially with the Bulls' slow start to the season. Now, it's been rumored that Zach LaVine's representatives, Clutch Sports, Rich Paul, said that they don't want Zach LaVine to the Knicks, and they're not interested in Zach LaVine being traded by the Knicks. Lee, what are your thoughts about this new revelation? Well, that's not necessarily new, but this revelation that came out as of late.
Ooh, lots to unpack there. Me and Jay Ellis have had this conversation offline, and I think maybe once, twice in a pod. LaVine is the number one hardest player for me to determine whether I want to pursue him, whether he would be a good fit, and whether he would make us a contender. I've had moments where I have been like on Twitter saying, yes, this can happen. And also other moments where I've expressed my pessimism based on his inability to advance. First of all, make the playoffs as the best player on the team. Randle has a better success rate than even Zach LaVine does at doing that. Second, Zach LaVine has always kind of outworn his welcome at the two places that he's played. And there's been questions about his effort, motor, defense, consistency, conditioning at both places that he played. He's also had trouble getting along with front offices and coaches at both places he played. He was shipped out by Tibbs and Gerson Rosas, who follows me on LinkedIn, to Chicago. Is that a relationship that can be repaired? It doesn't seem like all the optics doesn't point to him wanting a reunion with Tibbs or maybe Rosas. Maybe that's part of his public statements and his Clutch agency about not wanting to come to the Knicks. Am I offended by it? No, because thank God this isn't 2018 anymore. And Emmanuel Moody is on this roster. Like, we have a solid second to third round bound playoff roster. Zach LaVine no longer is worth giving up IQ and Grimes or IQ and RJ. Last season, I was very open to the idea of a package around Grimes and RJ and some picks. Now, I think I would pick RJ over LaVine right now, based purely on efficiency and defense. RJ statistically, all the advanced stats, all the metrics, is a top 10 on-ball defender in the NBA at this very moment. LaVine is below mid. Also, shooting percentages. RJ shooting like 50% from three, close to 50% from overall in the field goal. I'm looking at Zach LaVine right now. He's shooting 40% from the field goal, 33% from three. Those aren't the type of skills, shooting as many times as he does, that I want to add to this roster, especially someone who's not considered a dependable defender at a high level, and someone who has not taken his team, at times pretty talented, with DeMar DeRozan next to him, and Vucevic, able to take that as at least an 8th or 9th or 7th seed, or even a 6th seed. The Knicks made the 4th seed with a pretty ass roster in hindsight. Elfrid Payton starting at point guard. The Bulls have not been able to do that. So I'm not convinced that he's worth, definitely not the investment that maybe Leon once offered in terms of package, but I don't even think he's worth pursuing anymore, just because I like the pieces we have, and I think the best possible outcome of RJ and the best possible outcome of ITU is better than Zach LaVine right now.
Yeah, it's pretty tough because I think for me as well, I think last season I was more on board with bringing Zach LaVine to the Knicks, just for the simple fact that where RJ was last season, especially before the trade deadline, I didn't like the growth that he was displaying, and I thought that he was taking a step back rather than taking a step forward. And because of that, I was like, okay, well, if we can put a package around RJ and get Zach LaVine, I was like, I would be for that, because I think that he would have improved the team, especially with Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, and that would be a pretty formidable 3. Now this season, with the growth of RJ and seeing that RJ turning into a two-way player and he's becoming more efficient shooting the ball, it makes the decision making behind going after Zach LaVine that much more tougher. And at the moment, I agree with you, Lee. I wouldn't go after Zach LaVine at the moment, because just for the simple fact that I feel like the Knicks are in a good position with the players that they have. And I believe that if you're going to go after a player, got to be a player that is going to be a game changer, a player that you know for a fact that if this player comes to your team, that's going to bring your team to the next level. And I know that it's hard to determine if a player can do that, but watching Zach LaVine play, I haven't seen any evidence that he is that type of player where if he comes to your team, he's going to transform your roster. Now, with the Bulls, I do think that them losing Lonzo Ball hurt them a lot, because when Lonzo Ball played with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, the Bulls were actually a very good team. And then once Lonzo Ball went down to injury, it seemed like I don't know what it is, but it seemed like the Bulls weren't really that good after that. So you could make an argument that, okay, if you have Zach LaVine on your roster and you surround him with the right players, it's possible that you can have a really formidable team that can possibly go far in the playoffs. But I feel like what the Knicks are right now, I think the Knicks should stick to their guns and further develop the players that they have in their squad to see how far they can take this team.
He puts a window on your roster. He's under contract, I think, for another 4 seasons at like an absurd albatross number, I think 50 or 55 million per. To me, that's not worth the investment for what he's been able to do in Chicago. And when I remember watching that Bulls team when they started off really hot and Lonzo was at the point, they were playing very selfish, high octane, high pace transition basketball. That is not how the Knicks play. The Knicks are still high in isolation, half court centric, and very slow in pace. So he wouldn't be coming to a team that has good pieces or the right pieces for him to thrive. He would be playing against 3 guys that need the ball in their hands and are best when they don't give it up on the way to scoring. Brunson, Randle, RJ. And if RJ's gone, then he just replaces that. And it's really the same status quo. I don't see him being a notch above RJ. And I think RJ, just because of his continuity, has learned how to be better off ball and score and driving penetrations and get points up quick, opposed to handling it, getting stuck in his hands and trying to operate in the same mid-range areas as Brunson and Randle. So it would be a more cluttered front court with Zach LaVine added to this roster, whether he's replacing RJ or playing alongside him. And I don't think the fit is good. There's much more passing there in the Bulls when they had Lonzo and Vucevic and even DeRozan, who's a good underrated playmaker at least. They were moving the ball. That's just not the way the Knicks play. Tibbs doesn't coach the same way as Billy Donovan. Like Billy Donovan likes playing up tempo. That's not how Tibbs wants to operate. So he's not the right pitch. If we're going to sacrifice minimal assets, not for a big swing, but for a tier 3 guy, to me, it has to address our needs, which right now is length, defense on the perimeter, and ability to score without the ball in your hands at all times. A guy like Jeremiah Grant is much more worth the assets to me, even though his contract is also inflated, than someone like Zach LaVine, who needs 15 to 18 shots a night.
Sounds solid to me. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, it's a no. It's a no. I think we should. If Grant's available, if he's not available, Portland's a team that's gotten fleeced a couple of times. We fleeced him for Josh Hart. Maybe we can fleece him again. But if a player of his caliber, or plus or minus 2 points per game, better or worse, something like that, in the 20 to 21 range that isn't available, I say stand pat, take this roster to the playoffs, see if we make the conference finals, maybe even further, and then make the decision come this summer when a lot of those picks start conveying. Otherwise, there's no need to rush a trade right now, and Zach LaVine is not worth risking the cachet of assets we have and have worked very hard for and passed up great opportunities. Like those 3 picks we have from OKC, Osman Dean is not that great, but man, they got Jalen Williams after that too. Like that's from Santa Clara. We should have kept that pick and drafted Jalen, but that's another story. But we have made sacrifices like that in the Obi situation in order to retain our assets and stockpile draft picks. We shouldn't give it up for a guy like Zach LaVine, who comes with a lot of question marks.
You heard the man, Knicks. Stay pat, unless it's a guy like Jeremy Grant, somebody like that.
Yeah.
You bring him in, but Zach LaVine is a no-go.
No-go.
All right, so you have any bruh picks, any ooh picks before we go?
Bruh pick. Will Smith, bruh.
Wait, what Will Smith do this time? Wait, hold on.
Will Smith, man. My guy just keeps taking L's. I feel bad for him, man. It's like he apologized for the slap and he's still getting slapped every day in the media. Now they're saying that like his old bodyguard walked in on Dwayne. What's that comedian's name?
Oh, Dwayne Martin.
Dwayne Martin was like taking Will Smith to town, man. I'm like, can't this guy catch a break? Like he's already banned from the Oscars for 10 years and he has to be, living with J. Pickett Smith, which seems to be very difficult in itself. Like, give this guy a W, man. He deserves a W. I hope he sues the hell out of his old bodyguard or whoever his confidant was, because you can't be ratting out here in the streets, man. It's not great dragging his name through the mud. I'm staying with my boy Will Smith. Sometimes someone needs to get slapped. And yeah, man, I'm pro. I feel bad for the guy, man. He put himself in a real shitty situation. Watch out who you marry, man. It's important,
Yeah, most definitely. It's unfortunate for Will Smith. My condolences, my apologies. Hopefully it gets better for him as time goes on.
Same. Prayers up.
Facts. I had a bruh pick in my head. I can't recall it at the moment because there's so many things running through my head right now. If it comes back to me, I might say it for tomorrow's podcast. It's unfortunate I can't remember tonight, but hopefully it'll come back to me.
I know one more note, not a bruh pick, not a whose man's is this, but I do want to make a note here because we don't get to talk too much about other NBA teams all the time, but Paolo Banchero and Anthony Edwards, to me, are the 2 guys who are going to be the next faces of the NBA. I think SGA is already there, so I didn't include him. But Banchero's game as a closer, as an off-the-ball 5-level scorer, because he's 5-level, he is the real deal. Sometimes guys come in. There's a few dudes in the last couple of years, like Michael Beasley comes to mind, that were like really highly touted to be game-changing scoring forwards that don't always pan out. Banchero was inefficient last year, but a beast statistically. And this season he's taken to a brand new level, and the Magic look really, really good. They have a great coach out there in Jamal Mosley, former assistant here in Dallas under Rick Carlisle. And man, another example of a great young black coach doing his thing over there, turning those boys into men. And also Chet Holmgren, another guy I want to give a shout out to. My boy Chet, man, he's not Wemby. He doesn't have the off-ball scoring of Wemby, but his handles and his rebounding and shot blocking instincts are well advanced for someone who hasn't played one season of NBA ball yet. He is taking OKC to that level of contender off this season off the bat. I think that will regress a little bit, but I've been really impressed by the instant impact that Anthony Edwards, Paolo Banchero, and Chet Holmgren have had on their teams. And all 3 teams right now, you could consider all 3 a contender, even though I think all 3 will regress by the time All-Star break comes. And right now, the future is very bright in those young cores on those 3 teams. And to me, those 3 guys are the face of the NBA moving forward.
Most definitely big up the young guys that are definitely performing and showing that the NBA's future is bright.
Super bright.
I do have a bruh pick though. Now I remember. I needed more time to get it back to get it back into memory. My bruh pick goes to James Harden once again because news came out that Russell Westbrook went to the Clippers coaches and was like, you know what? I'm going to come off the bench to help build the chemistry within the first unit. Now, the last time I checked, everything was good in Clipperland when it was PG, Kawhi, and Westbrook together running that first unit. They started the season 3-1. So therefore, there were no chemistry issues with PG, Kawhi, and Westbrook playing together. But now Harden comes in, this man who so-called calls himself the system, comes in and he messes up the system of the Clippers to where Westbrook is like, you know what? I need to come off the bench just so that I can put Harden out there in the first unit with PG and Kawhi and build chemistry, when in reality, it should be Harden's ass coming off the bench and play with the second unit, because at least when he plays with the second unit, he can be the system. But when he plays with PG and Kawhi, you're playing with two other great players, my guy. Two other players who are better than you at this point in time. But no, does Harden take the sacrifice? No. It's Westbrook that takes the sacrifice when he's the one that actually has the chemistry with PG and Kawhi.
I'm not a huge Doc Rivers fan, but I have reconsidered my stance on his Philly tenure with James Harden, because even Ty Lewis came out and said this is the toughest coaching period of his career, which says a lot, the pressure he was under to be a finals contender, a championship winner year after year in Cleveland. And now come the Clippers and have 4 top 75 guys of all time. You're saying it's the toughest coaching situation in career. It speaks volumes of James Harden's influence, both on and off the court. I'm sure he's hurting their chemistry, but more importantly, he's replacing guys who are very high character, good chemistry guys in Robert Covington, Marcus Morris, and especially Nick Batum, who played their small ball closing 5, was able to hit threes and guard really the 1 through 5. He's had to even evolve Tayshaun Prince in the way that he played that role in Clippers. And those guys are gone. And those were the long-term, they'd been on a team for a pretty long time, at least Batum and Morris had. And we know the impact Morris had here in New York and changing the culture and making this a tougher team on the road. And he was doing that in Clipperland too. Like it's you create a vacuum when that type of character is removed. And when you fill it with a guy like Harden, who is all me first, high usage, top 3 in isolation plays ran, the system is broken. And he has shown that trying to build those super teams via trades, that's the old thinking. That's not the era we're in anymore. It's all about building and cultivating draft picks and building a core of guys together that become synonymous with each other's games, understand each other's games, and level up year after year through that internal chemistry and that internal continuity. Those days of those big swing trades are over. I'm glad the Knicks aren't involved in them, because if we had that bum-ass Steve Mills in the front office, James Harden would be in a Knicks jersey right now. Leon Rose perfect, but at least he didn't bring on James Harden, and that's not a reason to worship him at all. Do not worship anybody for NBA reasons. The only guy I worship is Carmelo Anthony. But that being said, I'm glad we at least have an above-average GM right now who has made some mistakes but has done more good than bad.
Yeah, most definitely. And it's funny because when you look at the Clippers last season, were the Clippers eliminated in the first round? Yeah, but I think that was because Kawhi got hurt.
Yeah, totally.
If Kawhi didn't get hurt, the Clippers would have won that series against the Suns. And who knows how far the Clippers would have went with Westbrook, PG, and Kawhi all healthy. So
Westbrook was cooking. He was cooking the playoffs too.
Exactly. So the fact that the Clippers front office, because I think Lawrence Frank is a GM for the Clippers, the fact that he thought that the Clippers needed something as the Clippers needed something as big as Harden, to come to the squad to help them get to that next level is baffling to me, because the Clippers were good the way they are. I mean, if anything, you might make an incremental, improvement. Maybe at the trade deadline, you bring in like another piece that seamlessly fits in and improves the team. You may make a move like that to help get you to that next level. But I don't think a Harden or a player like that was definitely needed, especially when you had Westbrook, PG, and Kawhi clicking the way they were clicking.
What is the most insane thing to think about in this entire dilemma is, as bad as a James Harden trade is, it's not even the worst trade they made in the last 4 years. That goes to Paul George, which in my opinion is the worst trade of a 21st century. He gave up 3 unprotected first-round draft picks, 2 swaps, and a future MVP in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was better than Paul George last year. Like that, he's first All-NBA first team. He is the best complete point guard in my opinion, and the Nets face of the NBA at the point guard position moving forward. He's dominant. And what happened with Paul George and Clippers? Either he's injured, or he's pandemic P, or he's choking, or he's just being mediocre. Like that was a mistake. The entire experiment of building a super team via the trades is a mistake, and that hopefully will be phased out moving forward.
Yeah, most definitely. But of course, that was pretty much Kawhi's fault according to reports, because Kawhi wanted PG at the Clippers. That's the only, and that was the only way he was going to sign there. So the Clippers pretty much had no choice. They're so desperate for a championship that they had to just throw away all their assets to get Paul George and to bring him here to bring him to the Clippers. So it is what it is. The Clippers pretty much got to sleep in their bed, because now you have 4 guys. Harden, a former superstar, Westbrook, former superstar, Kawhi, PG, all 4 guys who need the ball to be effective, and it's going to be hell for Ty Lue to get those guys to work together and find some type of chemistry to help get them to that next level. So Facts. It is what it is. And that is our show. Thank you I know it's not a live show. I know you're going to catch on the record, but thank you for watching, whoever watches.
No doubt.
We will be back tomorrow when the Knicks play back-to-back. Let me check on the schedule. Who do Knicks play back-to-back?
Charlotte Bobcats.
Oh, the Bobcats. Okay, well, the Bobcats. So that should be a Knicks win tomorrow night. Thank you for watching the show. Like I said, NBA, 2 of our superstars are sitting tonight, but we have 2 of our other superstars here tonight, which is me and Lee.
Let's go.
Yes, sir. I don't got the closeout music, the Jay-Z line, but it's all good.
We'll add it in later, post-production.
Exactly. See y'all tomorrow. Peace.
New York, big city of dreams.
I'm coming straight out.
New York, big city of dreams.
NYC.